Welcome to the show today. Today we have two great recipes. These are recipes that I put together for some cooking competitions, or actually recipe competitions. The first one being the Southwestern Waffle Pie with a spiced sour cream. And that would be the one here on the left. Quick and easy to put together. It's a kind of a unique breakfast bake. And then the second one is a chicken thigh with herb rub and a coffee onion jam. This one I put together for a contest just recently, and it was selected as one of the top 10 for the competition.
Both of these recipes feature low-fat ingredients. They're both low sodium, economical in cost, and quick and easy to do, and they're award-winning by our chef.
So welcome to A Taste of Mercy. Nancy's first recipe is a Southwestern Waffle Pie with a spiced sour cream. It's a recipe that I put together for a Kellogg recipe contest about 11, 12 years ago. It's institutional recipes for competition, and it actually was one of the top 5 chosen that year, so I thought we'd share it with our viewers at home today.
I think that's a great idea, Ron. I love this recipe, Southwestern Waffle Pie. It's easy to do and features a great Kellogg's product, Eggos.
Eggo waffles, and this is kind of a breakfast type casserole, a breakfast bake, like a strata. Normally you would use a bread, and I have some of the Kellogg's Eggo waffles, and we're going to just cut those into about a 1-inch dice.
Okay. I think featuring the waffles is easy to do because a commercial one, this is one of those fast, easy. You don't have to make your own waffles up. And it gives some substance to that egg bake that you're going to do with the rest of it.
Right, this is one that you can put together the afternoon or evening before and put it in your refrigerator, and then the next morning take it out and put it right into the oven.
I've done this a couple times for church for myself, having it ready to go and then come home and have it ready to bake quickly. The other nice thing about this recipe, Ron, it's a pretty low-fat one. You're going to use egg substitute in it.
Right, the egg beaters, and we're using a skim milk also.
Okay.
Now we need a little bit of diced red and green pepper, about 3 tablespoons of each.
So with the green pepper and red pepper, you're adding some vitamin C content to it, some wonderful base flavor.
And you can take and change up, the items that you put in there. If you don't have the red pepper, it doesn't mean that you can't do the recipe, obviously. You just put a little something else in there.
I like peppers though. That looks like some of the fresh red bell peppers. They're in season almost any time of the year now from the growing with all the different locations. California, Florida. I love it though out of my garden.
Yeah. We're getting to that time of year that sooner or later we'll have a little bit of fresh. And tomato, about the same. All these ingredients, about 3 tablespoons.
I don't think it matters if you get a little extra tablespoon or so in there, just a little more flavor.
Just so it all fits in the pan. Jalapeno pepper.
Now this one I'm going to step back, Ron, because I don't like the seeds flying in my eyes. Jalapeno pepper juice is one of those that just food safety-wise be careful about. It has some oils in it that stick and cling to the skin, and that's what gives it that extra tang that stays in your mouth for a long time.
Rinse that off a little bit. And if you're doing a pepper, you want to be sure that you don't go touching your lips, touching your eyes, and it'll burn.
But once those seeds are gone, that really helps to take the fire down out of that pepper too, though.
Yeah, if you like it hot, you go ahead and put those seeds in, but
I don't like it that hot.
I can't handle that.
Oh, maybe we're showing our age there, Ron. Used to be able to do some of that hot.
Yeah, not so much now. Whole kernel corn, just the frozen corn thawed. You could use a canned corn also.
If you use the canned corn, you'd want to rinse it to reduce the salt.
And be sure to drain it off. Green onions.
You know, this is just a great way of getting vegetables in a breakfast casserole. So often we have them just based with meats like bacon and eggs and cheese and sausage, but
Right.
this one is a great way of changing it up, getting some crispness and some vegetables into our.
And then we want a little Monterey Jack cheese. And you can shred this up, or if you bought it shredded, that's fine. I have some of the block. We're just going to small cubes for it.
Could you use a different cheese also if you had cheddar or
Oh, sure,
Colby
sure.
or something in?
Or a Mexican blend, or
Oh, the Mexican cheese would be nice in here.
yeah, I suppose you could do the same thing with this here. You could do, if you want to do a little different theme, instead of having the Mexican, if you want to use Italian, you could just change your ingredients up a little bit, your spices up a little bit, and maybe use the plum tomatoes and some fresh mushrooms. And
So I think what I'm hearing is that even though this is a contest winner, you could make it lots of different ways.
absolutely. Now these contests, they're different companies provide contests periodically to get new ideas for their product, and there's an incentive of some sort usually, whether it's a monetary or just a recognition or a reduced cost on a product for being a winner.
So with this one, you were featured in the National Restaurant and Institutions magazine, and they had a little recipe card, didn't they? That was published.
That goes into different magazines and throughout the U.S. So there was no money or any prize or anything for this one here. It was just
Some name recognition
just
is good.
you could get one of those finalists. Just a challenge.
Well, you've been doing it ever since you've been at Mercy, I believe.
Yeah, the first one was a cheesecake contest.
I love your cheesecakes. I spend my extra calories every time on this.
They're
Someday
not-
we'll do a cheesecake for you. One.
They're not all low fat, huh?
Oh, no. You did make one low-fat one, but it was good.
Okay, I think we have all the dry ingredients in here. Now we're going to mix the liquid up in the bowl. And I have the egg beaters, and I need a quart of those.
Egg beaters are just a nice substitute to help reduce the fat content and the cholesterol content of the eggs. They are made from real eggs. I think people get the idea that an egg substitute is not real, but it is really egg white.
That's a 1 1/3 cup of skim milk, the quart egg beaters, and we're going to put a little bit of ground cumin in there. A couple teaspoons.
Cumin's an interesting spice. It just really gives a nice flavor. You see it in Mexican recipes, you see it in Italian recipes, breakfast sausage recipes. So our whole dish is not going to be that many calories. It's going to be about 250 calories for a serving. It's going to have about 600 milligrams of sodium and only a trace of fat coming from the cheese. They're just soaking right down on into those waffles. You need a little high-edged dish as you're baking an egg dish because it does puff up in the oven. And so you want to contain it. I don't like cleaning up my oven very well.
Want to kind of mix it up a little bit and bring the waffles up to the top. You know, when that browns up, it'll give that nice
Crunchy.
golden pattern there. And that's all there is to it. Then we'll go into the oven, 350 degrees, and give it about an hour. We'll check it out and see how it's doing.
Okay, looks great.
Okay. All right, Nancy, the second recipe is a pan-seared chicken thigh with an herb rub and a coffee onion jam. It's kind of a long, wordy thing, but basically it's a pan-fried chicken, and we're doing a fresh onions and coffee and sauteing those down and making like a real soft jam out of it. Okay. So that's kind of the idea behind it. And this was a recipe that I put together for Premier Food Service, which is a national healthcare account. And as a result, it was picked for one of the top 10. And I get a free trip to Washington, D.C. Coming up next month. So first of all, I think we're going to make the herb rub. We have the chicken thighs here, and we'll pull the skin off a couple of those, show you how that's done. You could also use a boneless, skinless chicken thigh.
Or thigh.
But you could use breast as well. Now, the reason I picked the thigh is just because I think that it has more flavor, more texture than the breast. It seems like all the recipes you have that are low fat, everybody uses the chicken breast, and these to me are just so much better. But a little bit more
nice meaty cut of meat too, and moisture.
So the first thing we're going to do is we will need a tablespoon of parsley. And chop all this up and put it in a bowl.
Oh, I can just smell that flavor coming out of that, and that green in an herb rub. You're using several different herbs, parsley, thyme, and
rosemary.
Rosemary.
A little bit of thyme, a couple teaspoons of that.
It almost sounded like a song there that I remember.
Yep.
But no sage in this one.
Not here.
Okay. So leaf thyme is different than other thymes.
There's actually several different, varieties of the leaf thyme. It's just like it was, with the basil and the sage. Some will have a little hint of this, or a little lemon, or a little other spice to it.
And the reason that you use so many herbs is to give that intense flavor in the rubs, to just kind of rub it down into the meat. And
a tablespoon of rosemary, and these are kind of like your evergreen.
Evergreen trees.
Right. You just take the woody stalk. You don't want that, and take the needles off of that. And we're going to chop that up.
So again, you're releasing the aromatic oils.
Every time you chop, you crush, you're releasing those essential oils in there, and bringing out that flavor. Ooh. Now you could use the dry for all this as well, but you want to cut back.
The fresh always makes it so much better.
Yeah, and the dry is going to be more concentrated, so you want to use less. Okay.
It's been nice that we can buy the fresh herbs now in our local grocery stores, or I like going to the farmer's market and getting some of those also.
Pretty much year-round, so it's not too much of a problem.
And we're making the rub first to avoid cross-contamination of our cutting board. Chicken is one of those foods that you always want to be careful about cross-contamination when you're using a raw meat.
Right, and that and just the handle. We don't want to take and handle the chicken and then grab the knife and use the cutting board, and that's where it's going to get on here. Right. And then you're going to get somebody else who's going to get sick.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we have the instant coffee, and we need a tablespoon of that.
Now you're using like an espresso type of instant coffee?
Yeah, you could use just about any kind of,
so good
you
old
could use a Senka or Folgers,
Taster's
any of
Choice,
that. All those are going to work. It'll be fine. A couple teaspoons of brown sugar. And a couple ground pepper. I like the coarse ground pepper. It's a little.
Now this rub will stay on the chicken as we're cooking it also, won't it?
The majority of it will, yeah. There's a little bit of kosher salt.
Now, even though you've added some salt, it's not going to add significant sodium content to this dish. The final product was only about 166 milligrams of sodium, so that certainly would meet the criteria almost for a very low sodium meal.
So this is the nice part for professional cooking is, you know, I had to come up with these recipes, and the requirements for this one was that it be, you know, under a certain number of calories and low fat and under a certain dollar cost. There's certain things you have to accomplish, but you know, to have access to a dietitian to give the recipe and say, here, figure this out, see what I need to do.
He makes me figure it out, but he still doesn't take me on.
You're not going on the trip. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay, so now the chicken thighs. We're going to take these last two.
Now, to skin a chicken thigh is really very easy, but I like the when meat is nice and cold.
You're just pulling it off. You know, that extra fat in there, there's no sense having all that on there, so I just kind of...
So by removing the skin and taking that extra fat, reduced the fat content of this recipe in half. It was significant by taking it off.
Now see, the thing that we're trying to do in these recipes, you know, we did actually a lot of them in this one recipe. We take the skin off, you know, we tell everybody that, you know, take the extra fat off. Use a rub to increase your flavor. Use the fresh herbs just to increase that flavor. We're going to pan fry, and we're going to save the pan drippings. Okay. So that way we don't lose that. We capture all the extra flavor that's in there. You know, and so all those things come together in this one recipe. So it worked out well that way.
So it must have your number 10 in the top 10.
So now we're just going to toss this in here and coat it.
So the chicken should have a little moistness to it. You rinsed it in cold water
Yeah, this was all rinsed off in advance.
To get a little moistness to stick the herbs to it.
And then that brown sugar in there, that will weep out a little bit, and then the liquids will come out of this.
Out of the chicken?
Yeah, it's just, as I said, so.
So they're not each coated completely with the rub. They're just kind of getting that fragrance and essential oils down into the meat muscle. Right.
Okay, now this is where we want to go to the skillet. We'll use the pan.
Avoid cross-contamination. Not back on this.
So here we haven't done it with anything here. We're good, and we'll go over to the skillet to do that. I'm going to stop, wash my hands. All right, Nancy, I've taken the skillet and I've coated it with some pan spray. We're warming it up. We've got it on about a medium-high burner here. And then next step is to take the chicken thighs and pan fry those.
They've gotten nice and moist. You can really see that from that brown sugar.
The brown sugar kind of breaks down a little bit, and the coffee as well. And it picks up that moisture that was on the chicken and kind of coats the chicken a little bit.
Important to have that skillet nice and hot to also sear the moisture into the chicken.
Right. You need a good-sized skillet here if you're doing this for the complete recipe. And we're putting 12 chicken thighs in here. So
when we serve this, it's 2 pieces, 2 thighs per person? 2 per person.
That's what we figured the nutritional on. And from a cost standpoint, this was very economical as well. It was well below the required amount.
Oh, it's about $1.65 per serving?
Something like that. Yeah. And that's just for the main part of the meal. Now I'm going to let that, I've got a little bit of drippings there. I'll grab that skillet here, and then I'm going to just cover that up a little bit. Let that go for about 5 minutes.
A lid on top of that? Okay.
That's my lid.
Chef's Brown's lid. Okay.
And then after about 5-7 minutes, we'll take it and turn it over on the other side. Finish it up there, and then we're going to put it in a pan, put it in the oven to finish cooking. We don't want to cook it all the way through. And while that's in the oven, we'll use the skillet and add the onions to it, make the coffee onion jam. Okay?
Coffee onion jam.
All right, Nancy, I think it's been 6-7 minutes here now. Let's check it out.
So the juices are starting to come, getting color to the meat.
Starting to brown up.
That oils are soaking into the muscle tissue for the aroma. You can just smell the freshness as you're cooking with it. Now, chicken thighs, I think, are something that has been neglected by a lot of people in using for recipes. They're a nice solid meat. They cook quickly because they have that bone in to help cook it.
Okay, so a couple more minutes on this side, then we'll put them in the oven. All right?
I hear it sizzling, Ron. I think it's about time.
Check it out.
Yeah. Now, always be careful of that steam as you lift pans away.
Absolutely.
Steam burns are nasty burns.
I'm going to turn it down just for a few minutes here until we...
Got a nice gold color in the pan drippings that we're going to be using later. So we're just putting them into oven to bake through a little further.
Yeah, they're not quite done. We're going to let them finish off in the oven while we put together the onion jam, and we're able to utilize the skillet that way.
No, I like one pan cleanup.
Now I'm going to put the onion in here real quickly before...
Okay, so you just took some thin sliced onions.
I'm just going to loosen these up here a little bit. They're about 1/4 inch, a pound, which is 2 large.
A pound equals 2 large onions.
Yeah.
I've always tried to figure that out in
Roughly.
recipes.
Okay, so we'll let those go, and then we'll put this in the oven. And we still have our casserole in there, which is fine. I think by the time the chicken gets done, that's going to be real close to ready also.
Okay.
These are going to soften up. I'm just going to loosen them up into individual rings.
A little different way of making onion rings.
And you got a little bit of a crust on here right now, but once I get this down a little bit, we're going to add some
Moisture to it.
some coffee, about 1/2 cup, and some white balsamic vinegar, and a few more herbs and a little sugar, and then it'll all kind of pull up all those flavors off the bottom of the skillet.
I would not think of onions as a jam. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of, strange sounding, but that's, it's a lot of recipes. It's just, something that catchy name-wise. It perks your curiosity up.
Okay. Well, a jam technically is the whole fruit or vegetable as you're making something. So versus a jelly contains just the juice. So jam is the right definition.
Okay, now I have some coffee, 1/2 cup. And about 1/4 cup of sugar.
To get them caramelized, is that part of the sugar
It'll help
process?
brown that up. There's some thyme and rosemary again, same as we had the chicken,
Same
a little bit more.
spices.
Yep.
Same herbs.
And then the balsamic vinegar, and we're going to eyeball this here, but we need about 2 tablespoons.
So this can take about 10 minutes for it to cook
We'll
down?
get that, yeah, about that. Maybe a little bit more than that, actually. Soften those onions up.
Could you have made this at another, no you couldn't because you needed the pan drippings to cook it up?
You could have done it without it, but you miss that
Flavor.
extra little bit of flavor you're losing on that chicken.
Okay.
I'm going to cover that again, let that soften up, and then we'll get ready to do our Southwestern Waffle Pie.
Okay, great. Ron, I think the casserole's ready.
All right, let's check it out here.
Oh, look at that golden color and the green and the red shining on top.
Looks
That
great.
So we're going to let it set for a few minutes.
Yeah, it should set a few minutes. It'll make it a little easier to cut, and got a nice brown color. You see it's good and solid in the
That's a
center.
nice test, isn't it, as
Yeah.
it bounces back?
And when you push here, you don't see it. It just doesn't have any liquid pushes back up at you.
All right.
And I'm going to take in
Squirt it around.
and loosen around the outside just a little bit here. Now we're going to make some spiced sour cream
For the
this.
Southwestern flavor?
For the Southwestern flavor. And I have here a little bit of
No-fat
low-fat sour cream, or I guess this is a no-fat sour cream. And we're just going to put a little bit of chili powder in.
Oh. Between the cumin, the jalapenos, and the chili powder, that's definitely some Southwest flavors there.
And then it's like a traditional waffle, you're going to put syrup on there, so that's going to be...
Now, that's a different combination, sour cream and waffle syrup. We're using the real maple syrup, though, aren't we?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Okay, I think I will see if we can
Okay.
cut this up a little bit. And
Looks nice and firm. Now, this recipe is supposed to serve 12 or 6.
this serves 8.
Oh, I was totally wrong.
Actually, the recipe as I put it together was for 24. And let's see, hopefully it's not too hot to, it'll hold up.
So that's the trick when you take casseroles and things out of the oven, is to let them set for a little bit. Otherwise, they do fall apart from
Yeah.
the moisture. And
But we're a little impatient, we don't want to wait.
well, it smells so good.
A little bit of waffle syrup on there.
It's gonna make a pretty plate.
And a little dab of sour cream on the top. Southwestern Waffle Pie, spiced sour cream. And I think this would probably be just good cold as it is hot.
Our jam should be about ready.
Let's check it out.
Oh, look at that pretty brown color.
Now all the liquid is evaporated there and soften the onions up.
Soften of the onions.
So those are ready to go. We'll shut that off.
All right. We're just gonna put them on top of the chicken as
That goes on
plated.
top of the chicken. And let's check the chicken out.
Okay. It's nice dark color.
Now the chicken is shrunk up. You can see the pan juices in here where
Nice moisture come out.
it's come out of the chicken and it's
Firm.
firm there. So our chicken is done. I don't have any concern about that. And again, this works out real well with the boneless chicken. Although if you're using the boneless, it's probably going to take a little less time. It'll cook real quick. So let's try some out on the plate. This gets 2 pieces.
Okay.
Get a nice brown one there.
I like that. The herbs just
Okay.
shine on their
And I'll bring the
coffee jam.
coffee jam over.
Onion coffee jam. Just a nice healthy topping on top of it.
A little pinch on top. I'd like to take and put a little bit of that juice on there. Okay. I want to get all
Just
that.
the juice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing about a chef. They always dress up their plate and garnish it so nicely.
Maybe a little piece of thyme in there, or rosemary. And so we have a chicken thighs, herb rub, and a coffee onion jam.
And I can see why it won you a contest.